Hello friends. So in this video, I want to talk about how I contribute to this thing called Google Maps. It's pretty popular now, so I don't have to tell what it is. So Google Maps is like, I think it's a very big thing now. I mean, it started many years ago, and now if you go look at it, people use it for like a lot of things. Like in my case, I just use it for almost everything when I go out of my house. Like if I have to look for a place that I don't know about, I just look for it in Google Maps. I look for photos, I look for things like the phone number of the place and then call them up and then ask details. Also check out things like, say, if it's a restaurant, look at the reviews. If it's some other place, just look at the reviews, understand what people have told, good things, bad things, photos of those places, understand what it looks like, understand where it is exactly, and things like that, right? It's a pretty cool thing, and how I contribute to it. So since I use Google Maps a lot, I feel that it's a great platform. I know that Google actually benefits a lot from Google Maps, and me contributing, I don't really get any money from Google Maps. Though I've got once, I've got a voucher, Google Play Store voucher, just once. But other than that, I don't really get any value, as in like I don't get any like benefit. It's mostly a hobby for me, and it's also nice for me to actually contribute to a platform that many people use and like help people understand what things are like on the ground, right? So how I contribute, let's say I go to a place, assuming that I remember. I usually forget, but if I remember that, hey, I could just put something on Google Maps about this. I could put a review, I could put photos, I could put a video of the place, I could put details, extra details. These days, actually, Google Maps asks some extra questions when you actually put a review. Like if it's for a restaurant, they ask, did you take a takeout? Did you actually do brunch? Did you do dinner, breakfast, lunch? And how was the cost for two people or one person? What's the range of the cost? I'm not sure if they're actually showing this information in any place. I mean, I've noticed that they show like things like, for example, I'm in India, and they show the rupee symbol. They show 3 rupee symbol to show three-digit numbers, and like two rupee symbol, or like four rupees symbol to show like four-digit number, like meaning it's a bit more expensive or things like that. But it's an interesting thing because those kind of questions are only asked in the review, and apparently these are beta. So I see the question and it says beta on the brackets. Um, and they also ask some extra questions. For example, is the place cash only? I usually pay a lot with UPI, so I just say no usually a lot of times because I know it has UPI or card and this that. They do ask things like NFC, which I don't know about, like if they really support it. And then they ask things like how expensive was it? How crowded was it? Because with COVID, people are actually looking at the crowds and things like that, right? And people don't like many people don't like crowds. Like they want to get into a store and get something and then get out soon. But if it's crowded and there's a wait line and whatnot, it's annoying. And then Google Maps asks questions like, does this place require face masks, temperature checks, things like that. And then they ask you questions like, are there multiple businesses located at this website and it's that. And then they ask you specific questions like, is this dish served here? Is this product available here? Is this service available here? And they also ask very interesting questions about accessibility. Like, is there an accessible, parking, wheelchair accessible parking? Is there a wheelchair accessible entrance? Very good questions because people, differently able people would require these things to be able to just check out, hey, can I go to this place and park and just go in and whatnot, right? And then they also have like they also let you actually put photos, and if you put photos of like say dishes in a restaurant, they will ask you, hey, what is the name of this dish, right? And if it's not a dish, you can say just it's not a menu item. And if it's a dish, you can actually type in the name, and they also have suggestions on the names. And if it's a new name, you can still type the new name and it will take it up. So it's pretty interesting, and like of course the photos are all public, the reviews and all are public, the star ratings, the detailed reviews and whatnot, the videos and whatnot. But it really helps people. Like I, for one, like look at phone numbers, for example, and then call them up, call the person up, like call the shop up, and ask, hey, do you have this? Can I come and buy this? Then I go there and I buy. are you open at this time? So Google Maps has this feature to show what are the timings that the place is open. But of course, these are like the digital copy of the real information. The real information can keep changing, especially with COVID times. Sometimes shops close sooner, they open later, depending on the restrictions in the area, lockdown, and things like that. These days, there are no lockdowns, but it's still possible. It's still possible to have holidays and things like that. So the hours may vary. The phone numbers of the shop could have changed. The address of the shop could have changed. So you can actually go and edit, and then Google will say, "Hey, we'll review it." And then I'm not sure exactly how they do if they have people. I've also noticed like I can go and actually review facts, check facts. For example, someone would have mentioned that, "Hey, this place doesn't exist." I could go and check it out and then say yes, no, not sure, and whatnot. So I think it is still like user generated and like user contributed among other things. So it's a very pretty interesting thing, and you have levels. So when I contribute, I'm actually becoming this thing called local guide in Google Maps, and I'm becoming a guide, and then there are levels for guides. I'm at level 7 now, which is pretty awesome. Like, I mean, I'm not sure how I ended up there, but I was like, the gamification of Google Maps is pretty addictive, I guess, and I'll just love it. So I've been just trying to actually just put photos of different places whenever I go to places, or before I eat, I quickly take a picture and then start eating off. But a lot of times I forget and I just eat, and then I come out and I'm like, hey, I paid a lot, I did all this, but then I didn't take pictures. Sometimes it's also a bit embarrassing to actually take pictures of places. I mean, people are just staring at you, and I'm like, sometimes I think a lot about what others think, but then like I'm like, hey, I'm just taking pictures for Google Maps, not myself. So I'll just ignore, and then I'll be like, I'm fine, and then I just take it. So yeah, if you're going to places and you're actually spending a lot of money, you can actually get the extra benefit of actually taking a picture and then like putting it on Google Maps. If that's a hobby that you have, I really love it as a hobby. Helping people understand what's the ground reality of how something looks like. What's the place like? Is it good? Is it bad? If it's good, just put it out there so that people can actually go visit that place. If it's bad, still put it out there so that people know that they don't have to visit that place, it's not worth it, or something, things like that, right? And of course, put details, ensure that if the number has changed, if you know that number has changed, just go and say suggest an edit, and then put the number, and they will just review it. And if the place doesn't exist, just remove it. Once I actually went to this place, and then it wasn't there. I was like, how did this happen? Someone nearby told, hey, this place is actually mentioned as wrong in the Google Maps, and this place is like a few more miles away. And I'm like, right. And then I tried to actually put that saying, hey, this place doesn't exist, but then for some reason no one couldn't approve it, so it's still not approved. So, but if people are actually not calling on the phone, but looking at this place on Google Maps and then going, they'll just be like surprised and almost like betrayed, saying that, hey, this is not like great. So yeah, if some place doesn't exist and it shows up on Google Maps and then you trust that, yeah, it can be very annoying. Or the details you see on Google Maps, if you see it and you trust it, it can be annoying when it's not like the right thing. For example, like I said, like some place doesn't exist, but then it shows up, and then you go there and then you say, hey, it's not there. It's pretty annoying. Or you see some photos on Google Maps and then you go check it out there and it's like totally different. That can be annoying. I haven't had that case, but I've had this case of where the place didn't exist, and then call a number and then it says the number doesn't exist. That can be annoying. In which case, I go to the place. If I go and then I find out that, hey, I mean, I know that the place exists, then I go and then I say, hey, what's your number? Or get their card, visiting card, and then contact card, and then like get that number and then put that in the Google Maps and then suggest an edit. So I think, yeah, Google Maps is not perfect. Of course, a lot of times people have told me that they have actually gone to different wrong routes or smaller, like especially when it's smaller roads in India. They mentioned that when they go into smaller roads in smaller areas, like very, very small areas and like very, very narrow roads, sometimes Google Maps shows the wrong direction and whatnot, and then leads them to the wrong place. I agree. I mean, I've heard quite some people mention that Uber, Ola drivers, and it's probably true. I haven't had that issue much, but given that so many people mention, I think it's true. But I think slowly Google Maps will get there, or some maps platform will get there, doing better things. As of now, I think Google Maps is really good enough. It's free, of course, for everyone as of now. As in, like for consumers like me, of course, businesses have to pay for the Maps API and things like that to use it in things like Uber and whatnot. But yeah, it's not perfect, yeah. But if people want to contribute, if they like contributing to it, I think it's a great place. The one good thing about Google Maps, I think, is that yeah, today Google Maps exists. It's a platform where you contribute content, and it's a maps platform, and you contribute content, user generated content, and like community helps keeping it up. In the future, something else might come up that can beat Google Maps. But the best part is people will still be used to the idea and they will still contribute to it. And maybe an open source thing, maybe a NGO or whatever it is, unlike say Google, for example. Because think of it like this: like there was MySpace, Twitter, all of them social media. There's like Facebook and whatnot. Some other social media comes up, people will still use social media. It's just that which social media is what that matters. Similarly, people will use Maps platform and they will get used to actually contributing to the Maps platforms, sharing reviews, sharing photos, sharing details like the contact information, address, and things like that, and answering questions and whatnot, and videos and whatnot. But yeah, if the Google Maps goes away and something else comes up, people will still be used to it and they'll still contribute, and that's a big thing, I think. So thanks to Google Maps and any other map software out there that I haven't tried out that has this thing of user contributing to it, I think you only users can actually do this. But it is of course hard to trust users. But when you have multiple users saying the same thing, you could possibly trust it. It's hard to game a system. And like you can have a trust based system, and like it's not easy, yeah. Like many people could just lie together, but yeah, I mean, if you have some sort of like good trust based system, then I think it'll work out. And yeah, there are like a lot of online forums that have this kind of trust based system. So I think Google Maps surely would have some good algorithm to understand whom you can trust and whom you can't. And they would have some verification process, or like I don't know what they do, but I'm sure they're doing a good job because I see that things are good in Google Maps, at least to the extent that I've used. Like I've used it for like seeing photos in this ad, seeing contact details in ad. I've used it for actually going to different places, routes. I've also noticed that they actually integrate with so many services out there. Google Maps integrates with the so I'm in India, and it integrates with the Indian bus transport services and gets details, and it integrates with Indian railway service and gets details about when the train leaves, or when the train yeah, usually leaving, not arrival though, but when the train leaves, and is it delayed and things like that. So they have like a lot of details. They also have details like metro details and things like that. It's pretty great. I think they're also, I think, starting to put things like where washrooms are available so that people can actually go and use those. So it's a pretty cool thing. You can actually, I mean, Google Maps is like pretty huge. They have like lots of different kinds of things. And it's pretty great and honoring for me to actually contribute to it, and then that benefits other people who are actually trying to travel or go to places, and then get help. It's so much easier to just call up someone to get help, and for that you just need a number. It's so much easier to actually go to a place if you know exactly where it is on a map, and then you can also call up and ask for to ensure and things like that. So of course, Google Maps is a great thing, and if you have a like interest in contributing, I would say go for it and try it out. The Google Maps gaming gamification is really great, and yep, that's all I had for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.